You might wonder, why am I holding my phone? Because of what we're going to talk about today. You see, this space, the phone space, aka cyberspace, is where you and I go to for different things. Some go in there for fun, some go in there for work, some go in there to build a livelihood, to build a system, to connect with the rest of the world. That cyberspace has turned this entire globe, how many continents, how many oceans, has turned it all into one huge village, all by the click of a button. But how safe is that space? Many have been hurt, many have been burnt, and some have wondered, what's the point? There have been results, or there have been news of people committing suicides because of what's been done to them. You hear things about cyberbullying. How safe are we? How safe are our children? Newsnight sat down for a conversation with the director of the Nigeria Police Force Cybercrime Center. He's also a commissioner of police, Mr. Uche Ifeanyi-Henry. He talks to us about how you and I can be cyberly hygiene, if there's a phrase like that, and what is being done, the successes, the challenges, and what everybody can do to stay safe. Mr. Uche Ifeanyi-Henry, thank you for speaking with us on Newsnight. Your role as the commissioner of police and then director of the Nigeria Police Force National Cybercrime Center is a mouthful. Plus, the chairman of the Interpol Working Group Africa on cybercrime, right?
Yeah.
Looks like you're carrying quite a lot. I mean, this comes to mind because in this time and age, cybercrime, or the internet space, cyberspace rather, is drawing a lot of attention. How do you think, how's Nigeria fared so far in cyberspace?
Well, thank you for having me. So far, for the National Cybercrime Center, we're actually doing a lot to help in sanitizing the Nigerian cyberspace. It's a whole lot of responsibility and a whole lot of work, for the members and operatives, the officers and men of the National Cybercrime Center, to be able to keep up to ensure that our cyberspace is safe and secure. The Inspector General of Police have actually rolled out a lot of measures and derived a lot of support from him. And that will enable us to make sure that our Nigerian cyberspace is free. But I can tell you that, like what is happening in other jurisdictions, other countries of the world, the whole world is facing serious cyber attacks. And Nigeria is not isolated from it. And that is why the government and the Inspector General of Police were able to establish this National Cybercrime Center so that we'll be able to help victims of cybercrime, so that we'll be able to help agencies and organizations that face cyber attack on a daily basis.
I asked that question because besides the fact that, on the internet, you hear stories of cyber crimes like spamming people, what they call Yahoo. What's the other one now? They do romance scams. And Nigerians, the name Nigerians are mentioned as perpetrators of this crime. I'm not saying that it's a Nigerian thing. It cuts across the world. I lost my X handle, formerly Twitter. I lost it to someone I was scammed. I didn't know about. I just clicked and read out the code. So it looks like it's something that it's on the increase. It wasn't this rampant before now. So what do you think is giving rise to this seeming increase in this kind of situation?
Well, for me, there are a whole number of factors. There are a whole number of things that I consider as a propelling factor So many scholars or individuals believe that it's because of poverty. And so many believes that it's because of unemployment. But for me, from the studies I've conducted so far, I don't think that it's only poverty and unemployment that is causing. I believe the major thing that is causing cybercrime, for it to be the increase and the way it's rising, it's based on advancement in technology. Because I can tell you that same technology that we use, that same technology that the bad guys, the cyber criminals use. So we're not talking about artificial intelligence, we're not talking about Internet of Things and a whole lot of things. So, I mean, some of the technologies that they use are equally what we use. So I see advancement in technology as one of the proper factors. Now, because some of our youths are now really employed, which I know that the government is actually doing a lot, and this is not peculiar to Nigeria. There are a whole lot of unemployed youths. For you to be able to go into cybercrime, it means you're not poor. I look at it that way. Because, one thing is clear. You should be able to acquire an Android phone, a smartphone, and it's not cheap. You must have enough money to be able to afford data. Probably iPhone 14 or above. And for you to be able to have access to data, you must be able to subscribe. So it's not cheap. So it's not because of poverty the way I look at it. It's just because an individual wants to go into crime. That is one. And because the tools are readily available. And that's why we're discussing with the tech vendors, those, the OEMs, those that manufactures some of these gadgets that we use. So in Nigeria, yes, it's on the increase, but it is a global problem. It's a global problem that affects the interests of the world. I cannot mention, as we speak, any known cyber gang in Nigeria. But of course, there are patches of cyber criminals all over our nation. And one that is worrisome. Recently we busted cybercrime mentorship school.
Really?
Yes, in Abuja. So, somehow the cyber criminals discovered that we cannot actually prosecute underaged, those that are below 18 years. So what happens is that most of them started recruiting, underaged individuals, underaged young stars, and start training them on how to become cyber criminals. And of course, from what we discovered from our investigation, we discovered that they recruited them for 1 year. Train them for the first 6 months on how to engage in romance scam that you mentioned, on how to engage in sextortion, on how to engage in business email compromise, and other forms of cybercrime trend. So they train them for 6 months. The next 6 months, they will work for their master for the next 6 months. At least they've been able to, within the first 6 months, they will teach them how to hack and how to do some of those things. And after the first 6 months, they're expected to work for their master for the next 6 months, making it a total of 1 year. Then they should be able to make enough money for their master that will enable the master to settle them. Do you understand me? So it's a trend that is actually worrisome. And after the settlement, what they normally do during the settlement from the outcome of our investigation is to buy laptops, Android phones, smartphones, and give them enough money for data. And of course, unleash them to the members of the public. Maybe help them to hire apartments, where they will start their criminal activities. So it's a very serious issue. And like the ones we busted, those that are above 18 years were prosecuted. And the underage ones are coming, reporting for what we call the police supervisory. So be able to cancel them, So that is the situation. So it's actually on the increase. But the one thing that is clear, that it's not peculiar to Nigeria. It's on the increase in most of the African nations, it's on the increase in most of the countries of the world. Some of the countries of the world where you have the big cyber gangs, the WannaCry, Hot PTN, and so many other known cyber gangs,
But okay, so we do know that there was a Cybercrime Act, I think 2015 or thereabout. In 2024, it was amended. One would think that that amendment will take care of this matter of no prosecution for underage Nigerians or criminals, so to speak, and will create a stronger deterrent for those who might be considering that line of business. And it wouldn't stop those who are recruiting for mentorship. Is it that wasn't covered in the legal framework backing what you do?
Well, one thing you have to know is that what I got to do with an act, you have to understand that there is no perfect document anywhere in the world. So everything is subject to review. Yes, we've been able to do the Cybercrime Act 2015 and, of course, the Amendment 2024. And, of course, there is a very serious discussion that is going on among the major players, among major stockholders on how to improve on what we have. I remember I was called upon, I was invited to the Ministry of Justice to discuss issues concerning the act with the Cybercrime Prosecution Unit of the Ministry of Justice. Of course, we had a very good discourse. And apart from that, I was equally invited by the Chairman Senate Committee on ICT and Cybersecurity, to discuss issues like this too. And I believe in no distant time, there's going to be further amendments so that we'll have full representation of submissions that is actually going to help us, to be able to nip some of this problem. But I want you to understand, cybercrime is something, that is, let me say it's
evolving.
Yes, exactly. And of course, evolving. And you know that it changes. It's just like the use of softwares and other rest. As a cybersecurity expert, if you don't update, if you don't upgrade yourself, if you don't follow the trend, so it's such that it changes all the time. So you must be able to be in tune with the current realities, with the tech developments, for you to be able to fit in. That is the way the act is. There are new trends coming up now and then, coming up every day. So, like in Nigeria, for instance, there are cybercrime trends, crime trends, cyber, that most Nigerian cyber criminals are known for. But it kept changing. They move from one trend. If it looks, maybe people are getting to know their modus operandi and what they do, they tend to change. Interestingly, you mentioned about romance scam. About a few years ago, like 3-4 years ago, Nigeria was like an epic, Most of the victims, most of the reports that we received from victims outside this jurisdiction, complaints about, mainly about a romance scam. People are being scammed on a daily basis. It's still actually ongoing. But last year, we just discovered a spike, in cases of sextortion. But before now, most victims of sextortion are Americans and Asians. And most victims of romance scam before now is usually Asians, But recently, we started noticing a spike, lots of victims coming from Nigeria. So, because some of them that are involved, that are victims of romance scam, or sextortion in particular, most of them kind of uploaded their nude pictures, nude video, to cyber criminals, and of course, if at the end of the day they find it difficult to settle, to pay, as what is demanded from the cyber criminal, usually they push out, those contents, and the victims usually finds it difficult to show up, probably because of shame or stigma or something.
We're painting a picture here of something that was small. It looks as if it's evolving. It's getting more and more dynamic. And indeed, just like this internet space, the cyberspace in itself is getting more and more dynamic. And again, you mentioned that the laws are likely going to be amended over and over. But let's look at one particular section, for instance, Section 24, where you said a spike in the sextortion. That's the word you use. Section 24 talks about any person who knowingly or intentionally sends a message or other matter by means of computer system or network that is pornographic and stuff like that, or he knows to be false for the purpose of causing a breakdown. Now, does this cover that bit about sextortion, or there's another segment that covers that?
Yes, it covers sextortion.
So, good. You've answered the bit of it. You get to it. So, how detailed? Because in the increase in cybercrime, there is that worry of loss of property, loss of monies. I mean, yesterday I was having a conversation with someone in church, and she talks about how she lost 300,000 naira because they had her brother's phone and sort of like cloned the way he communicates with her. So the detail of the law, is it that detailed?
Yes, it is detailed. Yes, very, very. But then, as I said, since everything is evolving, we still need to, to change a whole lot of things. And that is why the discourse is going on about the Cybercrime Act. But the Section 24 you mentioned about still covers issues of sextortion, cyberbullying, cyberstalking, and all the rest.
Okay.
And I can tell you clearly that we've been able to arrest a lot of threat actors that are involved in this, and they've been prosecuted. Okay. And I see a lot of investigation that is going on, we're concerning the threat actors that are involved in some of these things. In fact, as a matter of fact, about 2 months ago, I was invited by Japanese government. I was in Japan with my team to discuss issues of romance scam in particular. Yeah, because I told you that they have lots of victims in Asia. So it's been a problem to Japanese government. So based on that, they reached out to the Inspector General of Police, and he directed me and my team to look into it and say how we can help. One, to redeem the image of Nigeria, and of course to help victims of cybercrime. Because outside this jurisdiction, they believe that the government is not doing enough. That the government, the Nigerian police force and law enforcement, that we are not doing enough to arrest threat actors and to help victims of cybercrime.
Indeed, what do you expect when it looks as if people are getting away with a lot of things?
Well,
and it looks as if there's no bite.
No, you can only do what you can do. You can't give what you don't have. If cases are reported to us or to the Inspector General, of course we'll take it up. Just like the case of Japan that I just mentioned, that they wrote, to Inspector General of Police. Of course, he invited me and said, you have to go into this. And based on that, I was invited. So they were able to list 12 threat actors that collected lots of money from the victims, women. And it's so interesting the way they conduct some of their attacks. For you to be a victim of romance scam, one thing is you have to upload your picture in dating sites or in dating app. And what it does is that it means you want love or looking for romance. And they know what the victims want. And usually romance scam affects victims from 30 years and 65 years.
Mostly. But there are a few cases of minors.
If it's a teenager, then it's a sextortion.
Okay.
Sextortion targets teenagers. But romance scam targets mainly
adults.
25 years, 30 years, and 65 years. So they were able to identify about 12 threat actors in Nigeria, and of course they scammed them a lot of money. So what they do is very funny. Once they gain your confidence and you believe that you're in love, you start demanding for money. Now, they will cultivate two. One acts a mediator, a victim, but that victim will not know that she is a mediator, right? and the actual victim. So they try to conduct in such a way that you won't be able to even suspect that you're being scammed. Because don't forget that the center point is that the ladies are looking for love, they're looking for romance. And the cyber criminal behind the scene will always preach for love. And they will tell them, hey, come, I'm a U.S. Marine soldier, I'm a medical doctor in Haiti, I'm a captain working with so and so. Do you understand me? And most times they upload the pictures of those, medical doctors, so they can get renowned, medical doctors. And of course, when they preach this, the ladies will fall for it. And they'll start demanding for money. Either that I was supposed to visit, can you send flight tickets? We need money for this and that. Yes, because they are in love and they'll give out the money. And now they'll ask them to pay the money through cryptocurrency. Okay. So, and there is a mediator. The mediator is equally a victim. And the mediator will not know. So the main victim will move the fund to a mediator who's another victim. That one will now move the money to another exchange in Nigeria. And of course, they will cash out the money. So that's the case of Japan. And when we discussed it, they gave us the analysis. So when we returned, we did further analysis and we discovered the locations of the threat actors. And we'll and remember, I told you that people outside this jurisdiction, even some of Nigerians, believe that the government and the police is not doing a lot. But I can tell you that this center is actually the best in Africa, so to speak. Now, what we did is that we have strong strength in handling cases that have to do with cryptocurrency investigation and investment scam. Okay? So we did our own analysis. We were able to trace the threat actors, their exact locations. So as we speak, this happened a few months ago. Yeah, so as we speak, we've arrested 11 out of the 12 threat actors the Japanese government gave to us.
11 out of 12.
11 out of 12. Now, we've recovered 2/3 of the money. And we're looking for the remaining threat actor. So once we get the remaining threat actor, make recoveries, then we'll charge to court. So we've given them updates. Now they believe that Nigeria is actually doing a lot. So equally happened in a case of South Korea, where they identified about, I think about 20-something threat actors to Nigeria. I was invited to South Korea to discuss for a case coordination meeting like this. And of course, they gave us all those they identified. We were able to arrest all of them in Nigeria here. We recovered money. And they were prosecuted. They were charged to court. So for those that believe that the government and the Inspector General of Police is not doing anything, we are actually doing a lot. And it's only when we interact that you can actually agree or believe that, that we're doing a lot.
So you mentioned something earlier which got me thinking about a certain matter that was happening that involved a cryptocurrency organization. I think that case was eventually thrown out. Is it that the cybercrime department, was it part of the prosecution? You didn't have enough evidence to trace the movement of the money? Because as you say, if you want to end crime, follow the money.
Well, the National Cybercrime Center of the Nigerian Police Force is an establishment of the police force. And when they started that case, we had a discussion, but we were not actually part of that investigation. Yeah.
But the question would be, in providing service, because this cyberspace is Nigeria, they are Nigerians. How aware is the Nigerian populace?
We're talking about increase in cybercrime. It's going to be more difficult if we are populace, if they are not sensitized to be aware, of what to do when confronted with cyber attacks and how to prevent. But because it's not only when something happens, we start running, hey, help me. Do you understand me? We should be able to do something. Now you talk about the Gen Zs. that were born with some of these technologies. I remember when we were growing up, we used to, our generation, they say, go to cyber cafe and learn how to use Microsoft and all the rest. Who teaches the children how to use Microsoft? Keep your phone loose. Your child will disgrace you. He will ask you a question that you cannot answer. A child of 3 months. Do you understand? That is one interesting case I want to discuss with you, involving a child. Children that are below the ages of 10 and 11 in school in Abuja here, where you have, children of rich parents. Those kids go to school with Android phones and iPhones. So what they do, it's during break, the children will go to toilets, the male and the female. The male will record nude, the female will record nude. They created an Instagram account. So if you want to view a nude picture of your school, I'm talking about 11 years and 10 years, secondary school. You pay a certain amount of money and you have access. The money they pay is like 600 naira, 500 naira, 1,000 naira. Don't forget, these are little kids. You now ask yourself, can a child of 11 years afford an Android phone? You ask yourself a question, can a child of 10 years old afford iPhone 14? The parents. You see, sometimes we do these things because, we are rich and because we can afford it. But you don't think and consider the interests and the safety and security of that child online. So there is need for us to sensitize our people. There is need for us to talk to our people. I talked about the Gen Zs. Don't believe that you cannot do most homes. If you visit most homes now, I thought I visited my friend. They had three daughters and one guy. We were in the parlor. For a period of 1 hour I spent in that parlor, nobody talked to each other. They were busy.
But they have to keep you busy.
Yeah, they're supposed to keep me busy, not by using their devices.
No.
So for us here, we consider it critical and very serious. So we decided to embark on aggressive sensitization and awareness campaign. We just had one. We called it Secure Her Digitally. When we discovered, the increase in the sextortion cases that I told you of, we said, hey, what we have to do is to help our people. Let's invite the teenagers. Of course, I discussed with the Inspector General of Police. I said, sir, this thing is serious. So I explained. He said, Uche, what are you waiting for? Go ahead, you have my support. And I had the support, and he gave me the support. And we were able, from the support of the Inspector General of Police, we were able to float that program. And it was actualized at the end of the day. We were able to teach those teenagers on how to stay safe. It was a 1-week program here at the National Cybercrime Center of the Nigerian Police Force. These are do's and don'ts. These are things you don't do at all while online. So it was quite impactful.
But you see, now this ones you've been able to, you did this here in Abuja. And of course, the Inspector General of Police has told you to reach out to the schools and formations. The question many people will be asking is, okay, you've reached out to the parents in the urban areas. They can see it on the media platforms. They can even go online and they see all of these things, the trainings that you did. What about those teenagers, those children in the rural communities? They would one day come into contact with smartphones, or they will one day sit in the cyber cafe and still be able to go online. What do they know? What do's and don'ts do they know?
You're right. And that's why this is actually ongoing. And you have to start from somewhere, We've done 1 and 2, we've succeeded. And with the mandate of the Inspector General of Police, IGP Betoku, we're going to reach out not only to the schools, within the urban areas, we're still going to reach out to the schools in the rural areas, because that is the only way you can only catch them young, the youngsters. That's the only way you can actually educate them. But apart from that, the major problem, as I said earlier, the parents. So what we're planning is when we take off from this next phase that we're entering now, as we're talking to students, more especially the secondary school, as we're talking to students, we'll have to talk to the parents because they're the major problems. They're the major issues. You see, there are certain things you don't need to. For me, my daughter is using Nokia phone, not touchlight. And she reported a couple of times. I said, okay, if you don't like it, then don't communicate. Simple. Because I need to monitor her activities online. So many parents don't care. They see it at show, that they've arrived. Oh, my son is using iPhone 14. Oh, my daughter is using this. I've heard a couple of parents say that. So we really need to talk to the parents. And the parents honestly need to do a whole lot of things, to help us. You see, if we don't do it, it's like someone telling me, like a few months ago, about 2 or 3 months ago, we had a spike in WhatsApp hacking. Almost on a daily basis, I receive close to 10 reports of WhatsApp hacking. So
those are the ones that I reported.
That's those that have access. Exactly. Those are those that have access to my number. Of course. How about those that don't have access? That don't even know what to do? And it's just like the training going on now. I told them that if a market woman that sells akara or vegetables is being hacked, the account is being wiped, the first port of call is the police station. If an Okada man's account is being wiped, it goes to the police station. If a House of Assembly member of a state WhatsApp is being hacked, it goes to police station. Now, how prepared are frontline officers? So we've designed programs that will enable us to train the frontline officers so that instead of complicating the problems of victims, they should be able to, first responders, they should be able to offer help. So we can't go wrong in sensitization. I wish that government, other agencies that is saddled with this responsibility, and the media in particular, should equally help us so that we're able to talk to people. So I thank channels for this interview. Do you understand me? Because there is no how at the end of the day, one or two listening will not learn one or two things from our conversation that is actually ongoing.
Is there any portion of this law, of the laws backing what you do, that would ensure, because again, one of the biggest challenges, as an elderly gentleman once told me about Nigeria, is consequence management, where the parent is punished for probably not guarding what the child is doing online or giving the child too much access. Is there any portion of the cybercrime law that ensures that parents are punished?
The Cybercrime Act review is still ongoing. So we've looked at a whole number of issues, things that are not captured will equally be captured. Do you understand me? So that we have a holistic approach on how to handle issues concerning cyber and cyber-enabled crime. You understand? But the most important thing I want you to understand is that there is a lot we need to do as individuals, and institutions of government and the media. I said this earlier. Because one is that there is one thing I discovered, because I'm a frontline officer, because I interact, I interrogate, I interview cyber criminals. So I know how they work. And of course, we understand their behavioral patterns and what they do. So it's not possible. You see, the way cybercrime works is that it's 50-50. They will deploy. You are going to accept. So if you're really not aware of what to do when confronted with that situation, you will fall victim. It cannot, most of the attacks, that we've seen or that we've recorded, is usually enabled by us, by individuals. Let's say, for instance, the issue of WhatsApp hacking I just mentioned about. That a cyber criminal will use his device to create a WhatsApp WhatsApp platform using your number. Now, what happens is that because WhatsApp is encrypted end to end, so instead of WhatsApp sending the 6-digit code to the cyber criminal, the WhatsApp will send the 6-digit code to the owner of the phone of the number. So they won't have access. So what they normally do is, once they create and they know that the number will go to the owner of the number, they will call you and tell you, hey, Neto, you're going to have Zoom meeting with your DG or with Chamberlain and others. There's one 6-digit number in your. Please, can you call the number quick, so that will activate your Zoom meeting? Meanwhile, nobody gave you notification of a Zoom meeting. And somebody will call you. Meanwhile, Zoom meeting, there's common knowledge that you are the one that will activate it yourself. Why do you need someone to activate for you? Do you understand me? Mm-hmm. So it's only when you give that number that they will log you out. And once they log you out, they start sending messages to your friends and well-wishers. Hey, I have an issue. You just imagine if you use your number to send message to your friend that is very close to you, that you're having, they will believe that you are the one sending it. Mm. That you had an accident that you need 100,000. And they will always use the fintech accounts. Before the CBN now, authorized that they must do KYC. Before that, they were not doing KYC. And on them, we arrested a lot of them, the owners of the fintech, and we investigated them. Mm. Do you understand me? Mm. So, because there's no KYC, they will always give you that. Pay 50,000 because of the threshold. It's not supposed to be more than 100,000. If it's 70,000, 50,000, by the time they will scam like 20, 30 people, they will make a lot of money. So it's you that will enable that attack. So that is why it's necessary for people to be aware on what to do when confronted with that situation.
Mm. You mentioned earlier about emerging threats that are likely to come up and all of that. So in looking at the future, and looking at what's possible tomorrow, are we considering recruiting Nigerians who don't necessarily have to be a part of the police force to work here? Yes, it's possible. In fact, there is an initiative that is going on now that we're discussing with the Minister or the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology on how to bring our youngsters on board. So the discourse is actually going on, and I think we're on an advanced level now. So the whole idea is that we'll be able to, at the end of the day, have youngsters that are not police officers that we're going to engage, to be able to help us. Because whether you like it or not, it's not something we can handle alone. It's not something the law enforcement can handle alone. The way the trend is growing, we need support and assistance from other, individuals and organizations and tech partners and NGOs for us to be able to succeed. If you check our organogram, you will see that we created a platform for technical partners that are not police officers. And so, in our organogram, you're going to see that. So it was intentional because we know and we understand that we understand the critical nature of what we're doing. And because of that, we know we cannot handle this alone, without involving other stakeholders, youngsters that can actually help us to handle some of these activities. From all that we've said, finally, your assertion paints a picture of a digitized or a digitalized, correct me if I'm wrong here, Nigeria police force. Is that what it is?
Yes. Yes, clearly.
The Nigeria police force is digitalized.
Yes.
So if I go to my village in Northern Cross River,
yes,
I am sure that there's a digital footprint there.
There is very serious frantic effort that is going on now by the Inspector General of Police, IGP Egbotogu, to ensure that we train the frontline officers. Even those of us that are here and some of the experts that we have, we still conduct, periodic trainings, because everything about cyber investigation is something that changes. Software changes now and then. So we still need to, improve on our services. However, there is instruction or directive from the Inspector General of Police that anything that has to do with cybercrime anywhere in Nigeria should be referred to the center. It's online based, right? So if the constable in your village, what's the name of your village? Ugep. Okay. I don't know the story of Ugep. If there is, if a case is reported to the constable, it's expected. If he cannot, it's one police force, right, that we have. If he cannot handle it, it's expected that he will escalate it to the DPO, from the DPO, of course, to the Commissioner of Police that will get in touch with us. Let me give you an example. In Anambra State, they kidnapped a victim, and and it's something that is ongoing now, it's a new trend, that kidnappers now collect ransom using crypto. So the kidnapper used crypto to collect the ransom. So they were like, they don't know what to do. But at the end of the day, the Commissioner of Police said, let me call Uche. Let me call the director to tell him. So he called me. I said, yeah, just forward the wallet account. And he did. And I can tell you, within 48 hours, we were able to unmask the threat actor, the kidnapper behind it. We got all his information. And we forwarded that to the Commissioner of Police in Anambra State. And within 3 days, the suspect was arrested. So this happened in Anambra, and we were able to help. So that's why I made that point. It's everything about cybercrime is something that is online.
So if we have this tool now, how is it then that it appears kidnappings are on the increase, or kidnappers are getting away with this dastardly act of kidnapping people all over the country? In the last administration, we had the former Minister of Digital Economy or Communication talk about how the NIN, it was at that point he insisted, register your SIM, attach it to your NIN. That in doing that, we can track any and everybody. Now, just before you answer that part, that's not eavesdropping, right? So you don't eavesdrop on conversation.
We don't eavesdrop.
Okay. Now, all right. So that process was initiated to be able to track and able to stop kidnapping. How is it then that kidnapping seems to be perpetuating, so to speak, and not going down?
Well, you can only do what you can, right? And I say this because if cases are reported to you, of course, you're going to try your best as a law enforcement to do justice to it. Most times, these cases are not reported. And those cases that are reported, I can tell you clearly that law enforcement, police in particular, have actually done a lot. There are whole recoveries made by the IRT of the Nigerian police force, and there's whole recoveries made by all other, law enforcement agencies, helping victims of kidnapping and rescuing a lot of kidnapped victims. A lot is going on. But of course, when crime comes up, everybody will like, police and the other law enforcement are not doing it. But I can tell you, if you see the way we sweat here to help victims, sometimes I stay here very late. I leave my house very early in the morning. Yesterday, I worked till about 2 a.m. on my system, trying to, do one or two things for the nation. It's not about me. And I said I worked till 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. I was off.
I am a bit more confident and more relaxed now, knowing that I'm covered on every side. But if we wanted to say goodbye to the people, what's that word of advice you give? And possibly tell us what the NCCC is also, NCCC is also planning as regards emerging trends in cybercrime.
Well, one of our watchword here is a proactiveness. We try to stay ahead of cyber criminals. And you know that the criminal elements will always want to stay 2 steps ahead of the law enforcement. So for us here, Proactiveness is actually what is helping us because we're always very proactive in handling issues concerning cybercrime. That's why we conduct what we call intelligence-led investigations. We don't just go out to go and arrest a suspect or a threat actor. What we do first is to gather our information, get our intelligence, get enough evidence. Last thing we normally do is to go for arrest. And when we pick up a suspect or a threat actor, the next thing is to charge the suspect to court. Now, we need to understand that for you to be safe online, you need to wash your cyber hands. You need to practice what we call cyber hygiene. You need to understand that for cyber criminal to succeed, you have a role to play in enabling him to succeed or to fail. So you actually have a lot to do in helping yourself. But the most important thing is that we need to wash our cyber hand and we need to be cyber aware.
Can you show us how to wash these cyber hands?
By practicing cyber hygiene. Those tips that are there for don't do this, don't do that, there are a whole lot of tips, that we regard as cyber hygiene. That's why I would say you need to wash your cyber hands. Of course, if you have unsolicited message, why would you click on unsolicited message? If I tell you that you're going to have a Zoom meeting and you're not expecting a Zoom meeting, why will you give your 6-digit number to a cyber criminal? That is washing your cyber hands. So when you observe all those tips, you've washed your cyber hands.
So practice cyber hygiene.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So let's take physical hands. And that's our show for today. We want to thank you for letting us be a part of your evening. It's always a pleasure to come your way. But know this, we'd like to hear from you. Our handles are right there on your screen. Send us a message, a mail, a tweet, and we'll bring it out to the rest of the world. Let's know what you think. Also, you can go back and watch this conversation again. This one or any other one. channelstv.com/podcast or youtube.com/channelsweb. You see the playlist, there's a Newsnight playlist there, and you just go ahead and get your feel of the conversations. Till we bring you another edition, this is me saying bye-bye.